become clear.
And what does this mean to you, or, you know, how do you digest this information that Russian airplanes have been delivered, that there's this relationship between, I guess, you know, Iraq and Russia, and then, of course, you know, all of these countries are ultimately going to have to work together in terms of building a coalition to help save Iraq?
Yeah, this is very interesting. You know, the Russians have a long history of supplying weapons to the Iraqis. They have goes back decades. Of course, once the U.S. invasion came, that kind of was shunted to the side. So the Russians are looking to get back into the game in the Middle East and Iraq in particular. So these 5 aircraft, they're older, but they're aircraft that the Iraqis are familiar with. At one time, the Iraqis had about 65 of these in the inventory, so they know about the aircraft, they know how to fly it, they probably have pilots that can still operate these aircraft. So this is a big shot in the arm for the Iraqi Air Force, because right now they've got no real serious aircraft. This gives them an ability to put a lot of munitions on target. This is a very capable aircraft.
So it's one thing to have the tools, but then it's another to be able to coordinate the use of these tools and have training to use these tools. Are Iraqi forces up to that?
I think so. You know, the Iraqi Air Force, you know, really is an old institution, and they've got people that have been to all the schools. I listened to the commander of the Iraqi Air Force last night when the weapons were delivered, and he seemed to be able to, he sounded like they could integrate these quite rapidly. He says 3 to 4 days, these aircraft will be striking ISIS targets. That's pretty aggressive, but he said that the Russians are there to help, which doesn't make me feel really good. But you bring up a very good point about the coordination. Now, you're going to have Iraqi aircraft flying, you're going to have American aircraft flying. We've seen Syrian aircraft out in the West, and now Iranian drones, and add to the mix Turkish drones.
So will they be talking to one another on these missions?
Somebody's going to have to control that airspace. I assume that at one point it's going to be the United States. We'll move an AWACS in there and try and control the airspace. But as far as coordinating, I don't think we're going to want to be coordinating with the Iranians and the Syrians, but we probably will be telling them, we're operating in the area, please stay out of our way.
Okay, and then meantime, there are conflicting reports now over who controlled Saddam Hussein's hometown of Tikrit. If Iraqi forces do indeed control it, what does that say about, you know, their strength, so to speak, to hold off ISIS?
Yeah, well, they have got to take back Tikrit, not because Tikrit itself is important. It's the idea of taking back territory from ISIS. And they're putting a lot into the mix here. They're putting helicopters, they're moving troops, air assault troops, they're moving armor. They've got to take this back. If they're defeated trying to retake Tikrit, this says that the Iraqi army really has serious problems.
And Iraqi Prime Minister al-Maliki is saying that, you know, militant advances might have been avoided if Iraq had the proper air power. So are they now saying that now that everything is kind of coming together in terms of maybe these Russian, you know, planes, things will come along better?
Yeah. Couple of thoughts on that. That was kind of a cheap shot on Maliki's part. Those F-16s were not supposed to be delivered to this fall anyway. It's a long process of introducing a new aircraft into the inventory. That said, you have got to give the Russians credit. Delivering these aircraft in a matter of 2 days and having them in combat 3 or 4 days later, that is really impressive. My hat's off to the Russian Air Force here.
All right. Lieutenant Colonel, thanks so much. Good to see you.